go out and get that first job. Hopefully as a dentist, you're going to be making at least $150,000 your first year out of the gate. And then your first year in terms of student loans, if the strategy is implemented correctly, you may not even have to make a payment in the first 12 months. It's kind of crazy, but most of our clients don't have to make a payment the first year out of school. And then so we use that extra cash flow to help them build an emergency savings fund. And then they're going to tell us kind of the direction that they want to go in their career.
Where do you see the dentist then kind of making their next pivot? Is it opening up their own practice, or is it, nope, I'm going to be working for somebody else and making good money doing it, or working for multiple different people and making good money doing it?
Because of the amount of student loan debt that most people have, the average that come to us is around 400. We've got a couple residents with close to $1 million in student loan debt. Now, the only conceivable way they're going to pay that off is
Welcome back to another episode of Dental Marketing Theory. I'm your host, Gary Bird. I'm the founder of SMC National, where we help you create, convert, and close more new patients so you can grow the way that you want, but you can't grow if you're drowning in student loan debt. And it's really hard to grow if your associates are drowning in student loan debt. And today we bring on Mark Johnson. He's the founder and wealth advisor of Dental Wealth RX. And he's going to break down not only how much debt these students are actually in, but how to actually make a plan to get it paid off. You're going to learn a lot from this. I know I did, and it's going to be super valuable to you. Stay tuned. All right, we are live. And Mark, why don't you tell me how you got into the dental industry?
Okay, thanks, Gary. So I've been in the investment industry for over 30 years, and we're based in St. Louis, and I have a wealth management practice. And in the early years, I worked a lot with the medical space. My wife's a nurse, and I had couple connections at a local hospital here. And I was visiting one of my doctor clients talking about his wealth and a little coffee shop. And you have to go up to the counter to order your food. And right behind me, there was a young man in scrubs. And I made the assumption that he was a medical student at the university there, University Hospital. And we struck up a conversation. Turned out he was in orthodontic residency. And so he told me, I said, oh, I didn't even know there was a residency, ortho residency, because it's known for its medical school. Mm-hmm. And he said, yeah, there's about 50 of us here. And he said, what do you do? I said, I'm a wealth advisor. And he said, would you like to come and talk to our residency class, buy us lunch someday? I said, sure. So I put together a little presentation, and I talked about the things that you would expect a traditional financial advisor to visit about: starting a budget, getting a budget in place, disability, life insurance, start investing early. I didn't mention the word student loans one time. I'm embarrassed to say our industry is completely avoided that topic, and 99% of financial advisors have no clue on that topic. We didn't get no education on it at all. And so I went and did my presentation. Afterwards, a few of them wanted to visit with me, and then they dropped the big bomb on me that they were graduating with between $400,000 and $750,000 in student loan debt. And here I thought I was going to get some young aspiring professionals that had the income capacity to be great investment clients, and here find out that they're starting out with $400,000 to $750,000 in debt. But I'm curious, and so I was interested to learn, well, how do you pay that back? What options are available? And is there any professional that's helping you? And the last question was, no, we have to figure this out on our own. And I said, maybe there's an opportunity here. I said, let me see if I can find somebody to bring in who's an expert on this topic. And I poked around, and I couldn't find anyone locally. I found somebody on the East Coast. I found somebody on the West Coast. And I said, you know what? I want to help these young professionals. I heard there's a student loan crisis out there. Let me see if I can help them. So what we've been doing for the last 10 years, and it takes a considerable amount of my time and my team's time, is working with dental professionals that are exiting dental school or residency of any dental residency program, helping them build a comprehensive financial plan around their massive student loan debt, helping them get in a position to go further in their career, whether that's to become an associate, a practice owner. A lot of our clients, about 60-70%, say they want to be owners. And so it's really, really critical in those first 2 or 3 years out of school or residency that you manage your student loan debt properly so you can get in that best position to become an owner. And so that's kind of how we got introduced in the dental space, kind of what we're doing now. Obviously, we're recording this in February, and so we're getting geared up to be going to dental schools. We'll probably touch about 50% of dental schools and a lot of residency programs in some form or fashion over the next few months as they exit from dental school or residency. Last year, student loans got turned back on in September of 23. So there's been mass confusion and a lot of waiting lines at loan servicers. So we've been really busy trying to kind of do some cleanup. A lot of folks for 3 years didn't even have to sign up for a student loan payment, and now they had to get enrolled last fall. So we're still just cleaning up some of that mess. So that's kind of what we're working on now, Gary.
Hey, got an important announcement for you. We are hosting the second annual Full Arch Advantage event where you learn to create, convert, and close more full arches so your office can grow the way that you want. This is going to be in partnership with BioHorizons, and this is our second year, but the important part is it's going to be virtual, so you don't have to fly out, buy hotels, travel with your team. You can just register and block off the days and watch virtually. And right now we have early bird pricing. It's never going to be cheaper than right now. I don't even have a discount code because it's so cheap. It's only $199 right now to register. And it's for your team. It's for your dentists. It's for your treatment coordinators, your dental assistants, and your marketing managers. And you're going to learn a ton of stuff to grow. Last year's event had a 74 NPS score, which is amazing. And the feedback was really, really good. So if you're looking at leveling up, we have a ton of new content, a ton of new automations and things that you can add to your practice to really grow. And we're going to be going over a lot around sales and executing on the phones to make sure that you can grow the way that you want. So don't miss this. Go to Full Arch Advantage right now and sign up. This price will not be around for long.
That's awesome. So yeah, that is a big issue because these kids are coming out of college. They don't have guidance. They have massive amounts of debt. And I think that's really influencing, obviously, their decisions of where they go and work, whether starting a practice versus going and working for a DSO or a private practice. Obviously, you're going to make a choice based on your debt. Like it's going to force you to do things that you have to do faster. So what are you? So you are actively helping people actually solve the debt problem from a financial standpoint?
That's right. So we sit down and talk about their career and family aspirations, and then we help them select the first kind of strategy in terms of addressing student loan debt. And they may get on, an income-driven repayment plan for the first couple of years. There's a new plan that came out last fall called the SAVE plan, SAVE. Saving on a Valuable Education is the acronym. And so that might be a good option for them. If interest rates start coming down next year, perhaps doing a private refinance of their student loan debt, or if they've got some private loans that they took out during graduate school, it might make sense to refinance those. And so we believe that student loan repayment planning should be as part of an overall financial plan. It's not a one-off. In many cases, these graduates are going to be making payments on their student loans maybe 10, 15 years. And so there's the initial strategy that they employ upon graduation is not likely going to be the strategy that they're on when they make their last payment. So it's not a one and done. And that's one of the things that we try to emphasize is it's not a one-time transaction. And secondly, it should be best applied with an overall financial plan in mind.
Got it. And then, so once these dentists kind of get an understanding or at least a grip on, okay, here's what's coming down the pipeline, what's kind of the next step for them from your point of view? How do they start deciding, okay, this is where I'm going to work? Does the financial debt come into play there? And do you kind of help them with that, or what are you seeing overall?
Sure. So sometimes their first goal is to get a job, any job, right?
Yeah.
And, they might have 2 or 3 offers. And so they're looking at kind of what's going to be the best offer. We kind of help them work through that a little bit. I'm not a lawyer, but, we try to give them some ideas on what they should be asking for in terms of compensation, benefits, signing bonus, CE credit, those types of things. So what I usually tell them is, go out and get that first job. Hopefully as a dentist, you're going to be making at least $150,000 your first year out of the gate. And then your first year in terms of student loans, if the strategy is implemented correctly, you may not even have to make a payment in the first 12 months. It's kind of crazy, but most of our clients don't have to make a payment the first year out of school. And then so we use that extra cash flow to help them build an emergency savings fund. And then they're going to tell us kind of the direction that they want to go in their career. There's basically 4 tracks. They're going to become an associate right out of the gate, either in a private practice, DSO, they're going to go into public health. Now, if they stay in public health for 10 years, there's the public service loan forgiveness. All their loans, they basically make an interest-only payment over the course of their 10 years in public health, and then the balance is the principal is forgiven at the end. That's essentially what happens, okay? And then they're going to go into maybe a residency program. Everybody that's going into a residency program should be on this new SAVE plan while they're in residency. It significantly reduces their interest accumulation during residency. And then fifth, they're on track to being a practice owner. And our fourth, they're going to be on track to be a practice owner. If they want to be a practice owner, most lenders today want to see somewhere between 5 and 10% liquidity. So in those first 2 or 3 years out of school, our job is to help them if they want to be an owner, is to get that cash built up. And so paying down student loan debt. I'm sorry?
I love that. So what you said, 5 to 10% liquidity. What does that equal in like actual dollars?
So let's say, I think last year the average dental practice sold for around $800,000. Okay, so they're going to have to save somewhere between $40,000 and $80,000.
Oh, okay. So it's like a down payment on a house, basically.
Well, it is, except the banks are going to give them 100% of the loan. They're not going to have to put one nickel in. The bank just wants to see that they've got cash on hand so that they can make their payment. So the banks are going to finance the purchase of the practice 100%.
Got it. Okay.
So
they're not even putting in the money. I follow you. They're not even putting in the money.
No.
They're just making it work. So they want the money there so that way they know you have a little bit of a fallback if you need it. You're just not coming with $0 to the table.
Exactly.
So so if I wanted to get creative and take out a loan on my house and drop that money into a bank account somewhere, is that fine from a liquidity standpoint, or is that?
It is. Actually, we've had situations where somebody was running a little bit short. So they don't look at your retirement accounts. Okay, so you could have $1 million in your 401k plan. The bank doesn't consider that in terms of liquidity. So we've even had situations where somebody's funded their Roth IRA for a couple of years and they were just maybe a few $1,000s short. We liquidated their Roth IRA, moved the money into their bank account. They got the loan. We moved the money back into the Roth IRA because there's a 60-day period of time where you can move the money back into your Roth IRA. So no, just to get through that underwriting process at the bank, we do what we can. So for example, if you want to be a practice owner, it doesn't make sense to get aggressively paying down your student loans in the first couple of years out of school, because it's actually it could potentially hurt you in terms of getting a loan, because you're burning up that extra cash flow when you could be saving it and using that as essentially collateral for the loan.
Got it. I follow you. So, okay. So then after these dentists get their well, let me start there. How long does it take these dentists to pay off their debt now? How long is this actually taking? Or we don't even know yet because the number got so big recently.
So we've been at this for 10 years. So we've had a handful of clients that have paid off their student loans. I try to emotionally prepare them that you may be paying loans off for anywhere from 10 to 15 years. You can actually get on an income-driven repayment plan for as long as 25 years, but I don't like that strategy because you end up paying twice. It's like $400,000 to go to dental school isn't enough. You got to spend $800,000 if you stretch it out over 25 years. Yikes. So one of the challenges is obviously as they're coming out of school or residency, that's the prime time to start a family, buy your first home, all of those, let's say, biological imperatives, right? And so then you've got all this student loan debt. So what we're trying to do is find the right mix between how much can we spend on our lifestyle, how much do we need to save to be prepared for maybe practice ownership, and can we afford to go to Jamaica for the honeymoon? Are we going down the road to Rockford, Illinois, or wherever? So it's all of these kind of trade-offs. I'm trying to identify the priorities and then put together a plan that the math works.
Got it. And then what road after? So once people get a handle on this, obviously probably not paid off yet, but they get a handle on their debt where they're actually paying it down in a timely manner, and they know exactly the road they're on and they can afford it and all those kind of things. Where do you see the dentist then kind of making their next pivot? What are they? Is it opening up their own practice, or is it, nope, I'm going to be working for somebody else and making good money doing it, or working for multiple different people and making good money doing it? What's the road that you see the dentist choosing
Sure.
today? Because it's changed a lot. Like it used to be just like, no, you open a practice, that's it. Like there was no other road, and it's obviously changing
Right.
quite a bit.
So rough numbers, around 60% of the folks we work with aspire to ownership. So a little more than half aspire to ownership. The ideal time, so I feel because of the amount of student loan debt that most people have, the average that come to us is around 400. We've got a couple residents with close to $1 million in student loan debt. Now, the only conceivable way they're going to pay that off is to be an owner and make a lot of money, right? Or they get on this 25-year plan, and at the end of the 25-year plan, Uncle Sam is going to forgive the balance, but they owe taxes on the forgiveness. So that's a whole nother strategy. That's called the tax bomb strategy, okay? But most of our clients, what I encourage them to do is for them to get clinically, emotionally, and financially prepared to be owners within 24 to 36 months after entering their career. So after dental school or after residency. Okay? If it's a dental, if they're just coming right out of dental school, I say go and get that implant CE done so that when you're going to buy a practice, you've got some high value skill that you're able to bring into that practice. One of my clients just bought a practice, for example, and all of that implant business was getting referred out. But he's got the credentials and the clinical skills now to add that service to his practice. And so I think practice ownership is the best way to pay down student loan debt, because if you are successful in your practice, you should make twice as much income as an associate.
Twice
because
as
you're
much.
getting,
So that's the numbers is
well,
about twice.
it should be at least twice. I mean, an associate isn't getting paid on hygiene work, right? The owner has their own patients, and they're getting paid on the hygiene work that's being done in the practice. And they're also, if there's an associate in the office, they're picking up 30 or 40% of that person's value. So an associate, an owner should make twice as much, at least twice as much as an associate. Now, it may take a year to get things settled in your practice once you acquire it, but I've got clients that are easily making twice as much as they were making as an associate. And so that then allows them to not have to make those tough decisions, those tough lifestyle decisions on, do I pay down student loan debt, or when do I start funding my kids' 529 plan so that they don't have $400,000 when they come out of school, 20 years from now or whatever. So I think ownership is a phenomenal way to pay down student loan debt, and obviously dental is one of those last healthcare professions where you can actually be an owner. Now, going the public health route, you can do that. If I've got clients that have, $500,000 in student loan debt, they go work in public health for 10 years. They make minimal payments, maybe interest only. And then at the end, Uncle Sam forgives their loans after 10 years of service. And then, but that's a tax-free forgiveness. And so now, let's say they're 40 years old, okay, they have no student loan debt, and maybe now they go out and buy a practice at age 40. They've got 10 years of clinical experience. Hopefully they've, taken plenty of CE to get their those high dollar procedures, in their tool belt. And then they go buy a practice maybe at age 40.
Well,
so,
okay. So where are the public health opportunities like that? Like where would they be working? Like give me an example.
So there's a number of different public health clinics. There's in urban centers, kind of a low income demographic. So Medicaid type patients or low income patients in urban communities. There's rural public health clinics in, maybe there's not a dentist within 50 miles, but there's a community health clinic. These are nonprofits. Native American reservations also have public health there. Someone can go in the military and get public health. They would get their loans forgiven as a part of their military service. So there's a number of different venues for that.
Got it. Okay. And so I go work there for 10 years, and then the federal government will forgive my student loan. So basically I'm going to make like $40,000 a year. Or I'm going to get paid while I'm working.
Oh, you're going to get paid. You're going to pay a couple $100,000 a year probably.
Okay. So I'm going to make $200,000 a year plus $40,000 a year.
Starting out, you'll make, 150, let's say.
Yeah.
But, you got a full suite of benefits, 401k, 403b plan, everything like you'd go work for a DSO, and they're competitive, and you're still going to be making a payment while you're working there, but it's essentially an interest-only payment. You're going to be on an income-driven repayment plan, this new SAVE plan, and then at the end of that 10 years, whatever's left, whatever balance is left, is forgiven tax-free.
Got it. Okay. And so they just basically wave a wand and that's gone. All the interest on it, all that kind of stuff is just gone.
Yeah.
And what do you mean by when you say it's tax-free? What does that mean when you say tax-free?
So right now, the way the IRS code is written is that if a debt is forgiven, you have to pay taxes on that as of income. So let's say somebody's upside down on a credit card, and say somebody owes $50,000 on a credit card, and the company says, "Hey, we'll settle with you for 20 grand," right? You have to pay taxes on that 20 grand as basically as income. So you get the forgiveness, but you got to pay taxes on it. So if they have $300,000 of student loans left in 10 years, it's going to be forgiven, but then they're going to have $300,000 of income added to their tax, right, to their income. Let's say they made $200,000 that year as a dentist. They made $500,000 for tax purposes that year because they had $300,000 of their student loans forgiven.
That's amazing. So is the question then, if I'm a dentist, is the question between those two options, can I make $400,000 more over the next 10 years doing it myself versus the government, working for the government for the next 10 years? That's the question, right? Like because you can make more.
That's the question. That's the first question. Well, actually, I would say that's the second question.
Okay.
The first question is do I want to work in a public health environment for 10 years?
Yep.
That's the first question. The second question is, do I think I'm going to be able to make significantly more not working in the public health sector to justify not going to work in the public health sector?
Got it. Okay.
So if someone's got $400,000, again, you divide that by 10 years. So you have to, what's $40,000 of income? You put 30% or 35% taxes on top of that. So you kind of, in your mind, mathematically, I tell them, in that scenario, you have to think that you're going to make about $60,000 more.
Got it.
I mean,
okay.
to break even.
To break even, yeah. But there's also risk involved with business. There's very little risk involved with going on the government side of things, right?
Well, you'd be surprised. These public health clinics, sometimes they lose their accreditation. I've had clients where they've worked at a facility that was accredited for this public service loan forgiveness program that lost their accreditation. But there's some other programs too to get people out into rural communities and some other situations you might be able. There's some states offer scholarships for like a 2-year commitment. It could be as much as $25,000 a year. You make a 2-year commitment, they wipe $50,000. They give you $50,000 towards student loans. And there's also some other opportunities now coming up because of some legislation where employers, this will be mostly for DSOs and some of the larger practice owners, where if there's a 401k plan at the DSO or at the private practice and the associate gets to participate in that, the associate could elect to have the matching contribution that, let's say, the 3 or 4% that the employer would make into their 401k plan, they could elect to direct that towards their student loans.
Got it. Awesome. Well, this has been really, really good. And it's an interesting topic, right? And it's something that a lot of people deal with. Last question, and then I want to get your contact info. Do you ever work with groups that have associates that are struggling with this stuff and need help? Have you ever done that before? Or did the groups
Absolutely.
Really? Okay.
Yes, we're happy to help anyone. So far we've been working with people as they're exiting dental school or residency and entering their careers. There's some changes that have taken place to where we might actually start working with D1s and D2s. So that's exciting opportunity for us. But absolutely, we're happy to work with graduates that are struggling to figure out what's the balance between their personal budget and their student loan budget and how to figure all that out. That's what we do all day long.
Got it. Awesome. How can people reach out to you?
Yeah, the best way to reach out to us, Gary, is just to go to our website, studentloansrx.com. That's studentloansrx.com. And if we offer a free 30-minute consult, they just click on the free consult button and we're happy to visit with them. And if they have a group and they'd like us to present either a Zoom, depending on where they're located, we could do a Zoom session where we educate people, or if it's, makes sense, we'll hop on a plane or get in the car and drive and visit them.
Awesome. This has been great. Thank you so much for coming on.
My pleasure. Thanks, Gary.